catch me 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. every Friday on Black Culture Radio. And don't forget that you can listen to any show you want at any time on Mixcloud. If you go to mixcloud.com and put JJ Music Lover 75 into the search bar, you'll find all my shows and mixes.
There's no way, there's no way, there's no way, there's no way, you gotta.
Yeah, dopeness.
Tell me what you wanted to say.
I started off there with G.A.W.D.S with Cobadera,
Okay, it's okay, it's okay.
featuring Mondo Slay, the track called River Card,
What you wanted to say.
and this track playing in the background,
There's no way, there's no way,
GAWDS,
no way, you got
G.A.W.D.S, going at whoever don't surrender. A track called Eggshells,
it's okay, it's okay, it's
off their dope album, The Care Package. And I have two of the collective on the phone. I have DJ Rocky Styles and the man Pinpoint, the God. How you doing, guys?
What's going on, JJ? I appreciate you, bro.
Nah, man, thank you for doing this, man. This is definitely appreciated. First things first, want to give a big shout out to Jerry Graham for setting this up, man, for putting us together. So big shout out to him. Yeah, man. So GAWDS in the house. I guess the big question is, because there's four sort of main members. There's Regulus, there's L3, and there's you two, Pinpoint and DJ Rocky Styles. How did you guys meet, and what was it that made you want to become the collective you are?
Man, so in the Baltimore music scene, myself and Regulus were in different crews over the years, and there was always mutual respect. You know, we would book each other for shows. We just really dug each other's vibe and music. You know, just two cool dudes. And we was both on a hiatus at one point for a couple of years. My man Reg hit me up one day and was like, yo, you gotta slide through the studio, let's just do something. I took him up on that, I pulled up, we made a couple songs and was like, yo, this is a thing, like, you know what I mean? Like, we got a thing, let's do this. And we've been through a couple different configurations. Reg's known Rocky for years, and you know what I mean, we wanted a DJ, we wanted to bring in that element. And then my man L3, I was watching some local performances on Instagram, and just when we was at the studio one day, and I seen him singing, and I was like, yo, Reg, check this dude out. He was like crazy dope, so I hit him up, and he turned out to be a really cool guy, really dope dude. We linked, and then we ended up merging with the group. It started with like features, and then we was like, you know what, you gotta be a god, you a god at what you do, you know what I'm saying? So we got the best DJ, we got two dope lyricists, we got an awesome singer, and we figured like that's a dynamic that we don't see a lot, you know, so we just put that together. Kept running with it.
Oh, man, that's cool, man. So, yeah, I mean, once you had the collective, how did it sort of, you know, morph into GAWDS? I mean, once you had the collective and you know you started working, how did it morph into that name? Where did that name come from? And you know what it means. Why did you sort of go down that direction?
Got you. So earlier in the beginning of GAWDS, we had another member that's no longer in the group, and him and I were kind of trying to come up with a name. So if I remember correctly, I came up with the same acronym, G.A.W.D.S, and I had one of the words wasn't what it is now, and that's my man Play. So Playboy, I forget which word he switched out, but he was like, what if we change that letter to whatever? And then it made perfect sense. We kind of fine-tuned it a little bit, and then we just felt like it was perfect. You know, like we felt like, you know, we were great representatives of what this culture is. So that part of it, and then legitimately, you know what I mean, going at whoever don't surrender is like, you know, we feel like we dope. If you know, we don't want you to oppose us, but if you do, we ain't scared of nothing because you know we know what we're capable of from a lyrical standpoint, from a songwriting standpoint. from whatever standpoint, from a singing standpoint, from a DJ standpoint. I think Rocky's screen might be froze. It was froze on my side.
No, he's there, man. He's there.
I don't mean to keep taking all the answers. All right, cool.
No.
I couldn't tell. He's doing this one.
No, it's cool, man. All right, man. I got you. So I'll bring you in, Rocky Styles. When you got the call, when you got the message that they're looking for, sort of a DJ, and what was your initial kind of vibe about what you thought you were getting into, and was it a lot different once you got into it from what you were expecting?
Nah, because like Pim was saying, Regulus and I known each other probably since like the mid '90s or something, just from the local hip hop scene, and both of us, I guess, kind of started out around the same time, wherever we would just see each other everywhere, and so I was friends with all the other DJs that he's ever had in groups before. Right. And a lot of those dudes have kind of retired at this point, and I've been making a little bit of noise in the city or whatever, and we've been cool for a long ass time. So it really just started out as like me being the live DJ, and then it kind of morphed into us putting cuts and doing a lot of like production with DJ work on it now too. You know what I mean? Which brings the the whole flavor of everything together. Whatever. So and you just don't really hear DJs on tracks like that anymore. You know what I mean? Like that whole like primo element of like DJs on tracks, and even Beastie Boys, Sublime. Like there were so many groups that you used to hear DJ cuts in. You just don't hear it anmore. You know what I mean? So yeah, it just kind of was meant to be, I guess, man.
I mean, for me, it's it's always a good thing, because I'm older, so you can see the grey in my beard. I've been into hip hop since. I've been into hip hop since the mid '80s. So Right. For me, the DJ and the rapper is kind of like a staple. So I love that in the last sort of 5-10 years, albums are coming out with a producer and a rapper. Do you know what I mean? And a DJ is like sort of at the center of it, man. So it's once you got involved with GAWDS, was it strictly a DJ thing, or do you kind of like put your hand into the evolution of what the track's gonna sound like? 'Cause obviously you're there to kind of, do you sort of, because obviously you're a DJ, so cuts and those samples that can be used. Do you get to bring that to the group?
Oh yeah, for sure. And like sometimes somebody will already have an idea of what they want the words to be for a hook or something like that, and I just put my flavor on it, whatever. But a lot of times, man, we just kind of like improv, and it just like it just kind of happens, which I prefer that to happen anyway. I'm big on improving things. I think it gives it like a more real feel, whatever. So yeah, a lot of the stuff that we come up with for like cuts and stuff like that, hooks and whatever, it just kind of happens in the studio. I just go over, then they have a plan that they want something done, but most of the time there's no plan. It's just like, we want this there, but we don't know what it might even be. You know what I mean? So there's even been tracks that the cut came up, or the chorus ended up being something that wasn't ever even thought of. You know what I mean? Like, it just made it like a whole different feel to the song, whatever. Even with the single with the Oh No, I don't even think there was plans for me to be on that one at all. You know what I mean? So, and I heard the Oh No, and I was like, yo, that's Mos Def sample, you know what I mean? And we just kind of built off it from there,
I think like I was saying just before we came on, I've been loving the album, and I think you can tell, because you've got the different elements. You've got the DJ, you've got the rappers, you've got the singer. They bring their own flavour to each track. Do you know what I mean? So like you said with Oh No, you probably weren't meant to be on it, but the way your group kind of evolves tracks, it was like, yeah, we can bring Rocky Styles in on this one, man. So I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Me to do like a solo at the end, but the hook and all that, there was no plan for the hook. That shit just happened. I think I was supposed to have a solo at the end, and that was it on that whole joint. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's kind of like, it sounds to me that it's kind of like being actually in a band.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
At times,
yeah. I mean, I've been in bands over the years, so I kind of, you know what I mean? I kind of get that. So, okay, I'll come back to you, Pinpoint. Before your contribution, to this hip hop thing, where does hip hop start for you? Like, as a fan, what kind of years are we talking? What kind of artists are we talking? Was there an artist, or was there an album, or was there a group, or how did you kind of like?
Yeah. So I feel like in the early '90s, one of the first songs I learned the words to was "Check the Rhyme" by Tribe Called Quest. And at the time, I was real young, and me and my sister used to share a bedroom. And like she would do one verse and I would do the other whenever it would come on. Like we would play it and we would just rap that joint. So that was like my first little like, oh snap, I know the words. And I want to say like in 7th grade, the Locks came out with their first album, and I remember being like, yo, I want to do that. Like I want to do that. A funny story, at the time, like one day I was in school. I went home one day and I wrote a whole song. I wrote a verse for me, and I wrote a verse for my 2 best friends. And they didn't even want to rap. They didn't say nothing to me about wanting to be a rapper. I just went home and I was like, those are my best dudes, you know what I'm saying? And we gonna have a song. I came in the next day and I just started handing out papers, and they was like, yo, what the fuck? Like, is this homework? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, no, yo, check it out. I wrote a song. Yo, they both shut me down and they didn't want nothing to do with it. I felt crazy, but I never stopped. You know what I mean? Literally 7th grade to now, I just never stopped. Like anybody that knows me, they've always known that this is a thing I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's great to see the vision back then. Do you know what I mean? It's hard. I mean, looking at it from the other side, man, it's hard for a 7th grade kid to get handed this piece of paper and be like, "Do this." I'm like, no.
It was totally confusing. Like, what's going on, bro? I'm like, listen, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring y'all with me. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's cool. It worked out.
Yeah, cool. And what about you, Rocky Styles? What's your kind of introduction to this game?
So really, like in the 80s, like when breakdancing got big, that was my initial kind of introduction. I've always been into music. Like most of my family like sings in church choir, and music has just always been around. You know what I mean? And breakdancing, there was just something about it that was very appealing. So. But as far as that music, I didn't know anything, so I would just buy like breakdancing soundtracks and stuff like that. And then my dad lived in the city, so I got schooled a little bit more by my city friends on what this hip hop thing was, and it just kind of went from there. I started DJing when I was like 16, and been basically doing it ever since.
Okay, all right then, and sort of, before hip hop, before you got a chance to, I'll go back to you, Pinpoint. Before you got a chance to kind of like curate your own taste in music, from when you were very young, what was kind of like your musical journey up until the point where you could kind of like say, I like this and I'm going to listen to more of this? What kind of music did you grow up with? What was playing in your house when you were growing up and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because my dad is kind of like a human Shazam. Like if any song comes on, he'll like 2 notes in, he'll be like, "That so and so album came out in this year." He'll tell you what he was doing when it came out. He can tell you who like was behind it. Like anything, anything he likes anyway. My dad played a lot of like Motown, like 60s, 50s, 70s music. He loves jazz, so I heard a lot of like jazz, like Earl Clue and whatever, just a lot of jazz stuff. My mom was a big like Luther Vandross, Patti LaBelle fan, so little me was just listening to all of that. And then pretty much as soon as I could, I started kind of drifting towards MTV and BET and just kind of picking up on that music. And there was a point where I was kind of like into alternative and rock some. And I remember my older sister being like,
DJ Rocky Styles, staying with you, man. What was your kind of musical journey from very young up until you could sort of curate what you wanted to listen to?
Right. So, like I said, you know, music was just always around in my family. You know what I mean? Like, I remember my uncles recording Casey Kasem and like listening to it all week long. So it like
Casey
really
Kasem,
like pop
man.
music, you know what I mean? Like that was, and then the reason my nickname is Rocky is like all my family is really into Beatles, so I was nicknamed after Rocky Raccoon. Because I'm third, so my dad didn't want me to be Little Paul, so I got a nickname like when I was born. Basically, it's always, you know, my grandmother's never called me by my real name. You know what I mean? So. And then, I was never really, like, one of those kids that was restricted on what I was allowed to listen to, you know, and I skateboarded I started skateboarding when I was really young. That was, like, the first thing I wanted to be known for, you know, whatever. Yeah. And so I was just into punk rock and hip-hop and just everything, really. Grateful Dead, like, Beatles, you know, Jimmy, you know, whatever. Like, I listened to everything, man. Like, so...
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've said this before to other people that I've interviewed, especially when I'm speaking to, you know, either producers or DJs or something like that. I think it makes you sort of more open to creativity when you're eclectic. Do you know what I mean? Like, I have a very eclectic taste in music as well. Like I was talking about being in bands before. I was in metal bands like 20 years ago and stuff. Do you know what I mean? So it's always never been just hip hop for me. Obviously, well, not obviously, but I was, you know, I'm from a Caribbean background in England, so I was raised on, you know, sort of reggae and, you know, lovers rock, and my dad used to listen to, like, you know, sort of like the deep roots reggae, do you know what I mean? The Rastafarian praise music and stuff like that. So, you know, and then I found hip hop and soul and, you know what I mean, rock, and like you said, I used to watch a lot of MTV, so there's obviously those different, you know what I mean, sounds coming in, and it's all, you know, it all comes in, and I think it just makes you, you know, if you're going to be creative, I think it helps because, you know what I mean, you know, it can come from anywhere. I mean, everyone knows with hip-hop, you can take 4 bars of anything and make it dope. Do you know what I mean? You can take 4 bars of a classical song, you can take 4 bars of some salsa, whatever, do you know what I mean? So, I definitely get you on that, man. So, when you, I'll stay with you, Styles, when you started getting into it, how and why did you go down the DJ route? Did you ever kind of like have, you know, dreams to write and be a rapper or anything like that? Or was it always kind of like, I want to DJ or produce or anything like that?
So the reason I really even started DJing is, where we're from, the wintertime, it gets cold. And like I said, like, that was my first dream, was to be like a sponsored skateboarder. Yeah. So it was hard to skate in the wintertime, you know what I mean? Like, you had to be super dedicated. Me and my buddy were getting, like, a little bit older, you know, whatever. And I'm like, bro, we just need to find, like, another hobby to do through the winter. We're not going to stop skating, you know, but let's just find something else to do, like, on our downtime through the winter. And it ended up, there was this kid from our school that had gotten in a car accident and was, like, brain damaged. But he was, like, super into hip-hop, like... And he showed us in the back of the Source magazine one day. He was like, yeah, this is what I'm getting. And it was like a DJ setup, like, you know, $200. Then we ended up finding out about a electronic sale that would happen, like, every Christmas in Baltimore. Yeah. And yeah, so I got a set of turntables and a mixer for was my birthday. My birthday's like a month away from Christmas, so it was a package deal. I got a set of turntables and a mixer for my birthday / Christmas that year, and yeah, it just kind of started from there, man. Like there was a bunch of teen clubs, luckily, when I was growing up around the area that I'm in. So we were exposed to DJs, like we were exposed to really good DJs, honestly. And so a dude kind of took me under his wing, showed me all the record stores down the city, and just, I don't know how to turn it off now, man.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool, man. So I'll come back to you, Pinpoint. Once you kind of got the bug, once you handed out those papers to your friends and they were like, nah, that ain't me, and you caught the bug, how did it evolve from there? Was it a solitary pursuit that you kind of like, my friends don't want to come with me, so I'm just going to sit in my room and write poetry? Or was it, I've got to involve as many people I can, and it was banging on lunch tables, ciphering? How did it form?
So after that incident, I honestly just kept writing. It didn't really faze me that they didn't want to be in it, because I understood that it was random, not just showed up. I didn't tell them the day before, nothing at all. So I just kept going, man. And I want to say, by like high school, I was still rapping, and we had when I was in the 9th grade, we had like a lot of fake fires called into the school. Like I don't know if it was like other kids just trying to get out, but they wouldn't let us leave like school grounds. Like we would all have to just go out like by the football field and just stand around. So like all the seniors and stuff would start these ciphers or whatever, like every time we had a fire situation. And I just went over there one day and just started rapping with them. I'm like, I don't care how old y'all are, I can rap. Yeah. So I would do that, and then like people was like noticing like little dude was nice or whatever, and it was cool. At one point in high school, like in 9th grade, this one dude wanted to start a group with me. And we came up with these little corny rap names. They're corny to me now. It's corny to me then. But that whole thing fizzled out in a couple of months, and I changed my rap name to what it is right now. So I've been Pinpoint since I was like 15. That's like my chosen moniker, whatever, which, was a whole thing, like pinpoint accuracy and double entendre on the pinpoint versus pinpoint. It's the whole thing. But like I've just always pushed it, man. And, even back then, it was like one or two things, like, like in a yearbook when they'd be like, so-and-so's most likely to be this and so-and-so's most likely to be that. Everybody always said I was either going to be a comedian or a rapper. And I was like, well, I want to rap. I'll just be funny. Like, I'm not going to tell jokes for real, like in real life, but I'm going to do the rap thing. So I've always pursued it. It didn't matter to me if it was solo. Like, I've been a solo artist many times in adult life. You know what I mean? But I love this group that I'm in. This is like perfect for me. But I've just always been about it, man. Yeah.
Okay. DJ Rocky Styles, do you obviously you told the story of how you kind of like, I'm going to do this kind of like DJing, maybe beat making thing. But do you count anyone as an influence, like a direct influence along the way, or is it just like, I like these guys, I want to kind of, follow them?
Direct influence, maybe Jazzy Jeff. That dude's just a goat. Like, and I like to play for many different kinds of crowds, and he does that very well. You know what I mean? I might be doing a hip hop show, which happens all the time. I might be doing a hip hop show on a Friday night, and dressed like this, and then the next night I'm wearing a fedora and a blazer and playing all disco and funk. You know what I mean? So I'm like, just as far as his diversity, as far as like a DJ on tracks, like Premier's my dude. You know what I mean? Like, it's just any Premier track with cuts is like, that's just hip hop. So yeah, definitely Premier. And as far as a producer, also, he's a dope producer. But he always cuts on almost every track. There's cuts, which keeps that element alive. You know what I mean? And not many people do that. So probably those two people.
Yeah. What about you, Pinpoint?
So many.
Yeah, I get you, man. Yeah. What about you, Pinpoint? Is there anyone that you kind of you can kind of count as a direct influence, or is it just been, I love hip hop and I'm gonna do what I can?
It's a mixture for me. Like I said, some of those earliest songs that I really got into made a big impact on me. I remember I had a real big thing about the Flavor in Your Ear remix, like the Craig Mack that had like Biggie and everybody on it. Yeah. But like I was really drawn to like Nas earlier in life, some Jay-Z stuff. Believe it or not, like I'm a big Joe Budden fan, and like when that first album came out, like, you know, the single wasn't all that wonderful, but that album was great. And you know, I liked being able to listen to like rappers that could convey a message. Yeah, like it seemed just easy. It was just real simple, and it rhymed really dope, and it was all these compound syllables that rhymed, but yet they were still just talking to me. It just felt like they was talking to me, like Black Thought or The Roots, and just all of those guys, man. I mean, it was a bunch of different MCs, but everybody had their own little different impact on me, you know.
Yeah, man. Listen, Joe Budden was dope. That's undeniable. Like, I mean, I think in this day and age, people like to downplay what people did, but Joe Budden at that time was, you know what I mean, who was messing with him? Like, he earned his place. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And even when he kind of like dropped out of you know, sort of favor, as it were, and he was just making albums, he was still dope. Like, he's always been a dope rapper. Really good. Do you know what I mean? Like, he never would have been in Slaughterhouse if he wasn't. Do you know what I mean? There was 4 killers in that group. Do you know what I mean? He never would have survived if he wasn't good. You know what I mean? So I get you, man. And I'm one of them kind of people where there's no such thing as guilty pleasures. You know what I mean? All 3 of us have said how eclectic we are. You know what I mean? So there's no wrong choices. If you love it, you love it. You know what I mean? I don't care who it's by. If it's dope, it's dope. So yeah, I get that, man. And so now, you know, we move into, you know, end of 2025, beginning of 2026. We now have the Care Package. What was it like putting that together? Was there a lot of I know you guys are all, you know what I mean, Baltimore dudes, but was it a fact that you all got together and put the album together in one room, or was it a lot of sending files between members and stuff?
So, for the most part, we kind of, a lot of the songs that we create, they kind of happen on the spot. So, like, even from the MC perspective, like, we'll be cycling through beats. Regulus produces. We've got a dope dude, D2P, Dictor. He produces a lot of stuff for us. I've kind of gotten to it fairly recently again. I had dropped off for a long time. But we'll sit around and, you know, we'll just kind of listen and see where the beats are taking us, which one we want to hop on. And for this particular project, what happened is, maybe over the last 2 or 3 albums, when we would go to put together those albums, we would have these songs that may not feel like they fit in the right way. Yeah. And we made a decision like, all right, well, we're going to start putting these almost to the side and put together. We literally called it, we was like, we're going to do like a little care package that's going to evoke emotions, you know what I mean? We're going to do this detailed album with that. And so we had a couple of songs sitting on the side for this. And then we sat down and was like, all right, it's time to actually put that out. Yeah. So then we directly made songs that we wanted to use to express different things that were going on in our lives at the time, and really connect with supporters and potential supporters. And just really put together a whole thing that we thought, when we presented it to folks, that you could play from the beginning to the end. And no matter what kind of day you were having, you could be like, all right, that was cool. Like, there was something on there that got to me today, or just whatever. It sounded dope sonically, or whatever it might be. So, some, you know, we got some artists featured from San Antonio. We got like Blazy Green on there, and we got my man Spy MC. That, of course, involves some file sharing to a degree. Sure. But we did fly to San Antonio and actually record it in the studio with Spy and Nick Shan. Shout out to Nick on the production for that song. It's called Change Up. So that, you know, the only file exchange there was kind of like final mix downs. But for the most part, you know, we recorded pretty much everything at Diamond Dungeon Studios right here in Baltimore, which Regulus runs. And, you know, we just wrote on the spot and kind of did everything we did on the spot. We didn't really do a lot of like takeaway homework and come back. We just come up with the song and then listen to it and see if we like it or not. You know?
That's cool, man. So, how is? I mean, I've had the pleasure to speak to a couple of MCs from Baltimore, man. Peace out to my man Eshaw Ridge. I'm a big fan of his, and P Shells, man. Both Baltimore MCs, both dope. What is the Baltimore scene like? I'll start with you, DJ Rocky Styles. What's the Baltimore scene like, man? Because it's been, you know, sort of like the first time I spoke to Eshaw Ridge was in, I think it was like the end of 2022. You know, things were kind of building, but it wasn't like, you know, sort of like there yet, if you know what I mean. It's been a few years since then, and obviously everything's growing steadily. So what's the Baltimore scene like now? Do you get to do much in Baltimore, or do you kind of have to go outside to kind of like pursue stuff?
So as far as a DJ, I have work all over the place, just you know, doing nightclubs and stuff like that. As far as the hip hop scene in Baltimore, the real hip hop scene in Baltimore has always been so small. You know what I mean? So it kind of has its ups and downs. It's kind of in a downish type spot right now, I would say. But we've also been, you know, doing our own shows, and you kind of have to in Baltimore. There's not a lot of stuff that goes on. A lot of venues have shut down in Baltimore also. So everybody's kind of fighting for the same spots. You know what I mean? Right. Yeah. So we've just recently started doing our own showcase thing, just to you know, just to be able to play out and get dope artists, you know, stage time, because there really is not a lot of stages in Baltimore to even hit. You know what I mean? So, but you know, I like it for that at the same time too. You know what I mean? Like that there's not a lot of competition. Not that we're not competition. You know what I mean? But like, and I've always said in Baltimore, it's always been like more of a, you know, like the torch never gets passed. It always has to get picked up by the next generation. Yeah. And everybody has to learn all over again and start the whole scene back over again. You know what I mean? So that's another reason we've been doing what we've been doing too, because we've been kind of OGs in it. So we've been, you know, pressuring people to sell tickets and promote and do all the things you're supposed to do. But, you know, if nobody else is doing it, you didn't know that, then, you know, you don't do that stuff. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, I always say that. I mean, you know, people like to sit and complain about their kind of hip hop not being at the forefront anymore, but it's because you don't support it. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like if you want your hip hop to be at the forefront, you got to buy the tickets. You got to go to the shows. You got to, you know, you got to go to, you know what I mean, whatever platform and buy the track. Do you know what I mean? Like the artist isn't going to be able to do more if you don't support them, you know, financially and, you know, online, as it were. Is it the same for you, Pinpoint, as, you know, to the scene?
Yes, it is the same. I mean, you know, like Rocky said, there's been ups and downs. I remember when I felt like we had a pretty good thing going and it was just going to go up from there. And then it was like, oh, snap, my favorite club closed. And then another one did. And then another one was like, no more hip hop. And then, you know, all these different shifts and changes. And then, you know, different things with just different pockets of MCs and different personalities and different people feeling a certain way, like they're here and whatever, all the things that probably exist in all the other hip hop communities or whatever. So yeah, there's definitely less venues now. So, you know, you kind of gotta take the bull by the horns, you know, and kind of create some things, especially like Rocky said, for us being a little bit more seasoned. Regulus has been great at that. You know, he has kind of taken a big part in that as far as like putting together showcases, and he kind of always has, even back when the scene was a little bit more cohesive. He was a big part of that back then too, getting shows put together. I remember before we were in a group, there was a particular venue down here that's called the 8x10, and most of us couldn't get in there. Like, you know what I mean? It felt like they didn't really want hip hop in there, but Reg had the plug for that. And I remember him bringing me on to perform, like as a solo artist. He bought, you know, and then I was able to get in that door, and I was like, oh my man, like that's dope. You know what I mean? So you kind of gotta work with those that have a similar vision as you, and do what you can. And I do agree that the support is like it's a circle thing, and the reciprocity matters. Yeah. Like if you don't go to somebody else's shows and you don't try to support what they got going on, or buy or listen to it and just let them know, and nowadays like put up a status or whatever, or share the thing. If you don't share their thing, they ain't gonna share your thing. And then how can you get that cross contamination to get to that other pocket of people that you can't get to? You can't break through that barrier unless you do things a certain way. So to a degree, that involves also kind of shifting some of the bravado out of it. It's like, in hip hop, it's always a competitive space. Like who's the best MC? You want to kind of brag about that, but also you have to have respect for your fellow MCs, and not be so much of a jerk, right? You kind of gotta let go of the ego a little bit. Yeah, you gotta find that perfect balance of like, look, I'm really good, but you're good too. Let's do something. I'm listening. Are you listening? Because I'm listening. So, but it's been weird. It is weird.
All right, man. Getting back to the album itself, the Care Package. Have you guys had a chance to sort of gauge the reaction? I know it's only been out for a little bit, but obviously you were showing it to people before it was out. Have you had a chance to gauge the reception? What are people telling you about it?
So what I would say is this, from my personal point of view, the whole time that we knew this thing was going to come out eventually, I thought, and I think to a degree regulars thought, that it was going to be such a left turn from a lot of the boom bap stuff that we normally put out, that I was a little bit worried about how it would be received. But I knew like the songs made sense, the structure, the topics, and all of that, the lyrics and everything. I knew that it was good, but I just didn't know how people were going to take it. And I was shocked because I've actually had multiple people say to me, "This is your guys' best album." And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, okay, I mean, I love it, but I didn't expect it. But I have gotten a lot of really good feedback about it. I've made it a point to reach out to people and ask them like directly and personally, like, have you listened to it? Can you take a listen? Let me know what you think. I've had some friends reach out and just be like, hey, I wrote up a little thing and shared that, with like their viewers or whatever. Like, hey, this is a dope project. Check it out. Just how I feel about these songs. Blah, blah, blah. So, and before it even came out, those in our close circle that we would play stuff for, we were getting good feedback then. We made a couple tweaks, took a couple songs off, added a couple here and there, but by far and large, man, it's been received really well, and I'm really happy about it because there's some songs on this project that I really, really love. You know what I mean? Like, I like the whole thing, but there's some songs that just mean a lot to me. Yeah. Again, a lot of these songs kind of touch on things that were really happening to us, so it's bars, but it's also real life stuff. You know what I mean? And I wanted that to connect with people. I figured maybe not so much all our normal hip hop heads, but maybe just regular folks would be like, I like this. And that's kind of happening, but it's also happening on the rapper guy side too, because we're all people and we all share these common relatable experiences. And, again, we wanted to put it together and just give people that care package. Like, yo, this is for you. This is for you to get through the month, the week, make it to the next payday, whatever it is, get through the breakup, get through the, work it out well with the new person, whatever it is, and I think it's been doing that so far.
Right. Okay. Yeah. What about you, Rocky? Have you had has anyone given you any feedback on, what they think of the project?
Yeah, like everybody that I've put onto it is like the same thing. Like, this is your guys' dopest album, and I totally agree. My favorite artists are De La, Tribe, Common. Like, I'm a huge native tongue, you know what I mean? And this album definitely has it's almost like a hip hop meets neo soul type vibe. And I feel like collectively it just all came together. Like L3's still kind of new to the group a little bit, and he got a lot more freedom on this album. And this sounds to me like it's the first GAWDS album, if that makes sense. Everything just kind of came together perfect. You know what I mean? And it's just it's by far my favorite album, and we've heard nothing but really good comments about it and whatever. So yeah.
I mean, it sounds like I was hoping to speak to all four of you, to be honest. But it sounds like L3 kind of like really thrived off the fact that he could not do what he wants, but you know what I mean by that. Do you know what I mean? Like he had the freedom to express himself properly, and he wasn't, because a lot of people, you know, a lot of especially hip hop artists, if they're gonna put a singer on their beat, it's like, you know, this is the box that I want you in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it seems like you guys were like, you know what I mean? What can you do with this? Do you know what I mean? You know, go crazy. Do you know what I mean? And you can kind of like you can see it. You know, you can hear it on the album. When you listen to the album, man, you can hear the creative process. You can hear that it was, you know what I mean, everything was thought through. You can hear that. You can hear, you know, where the little inspirations were, and you know, the rest of you heard it and was like, yeah, let's go down that direction, man. You can tell. I think you could tell on a track where, you know, if someone was put in a box, or if they had the freedom to, you know what I mean, soar. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I like about it. What I was thinking about the album when I heard it, you know, I've you know, been able to listen to it a few times. You can tell the mark of a quality album when the first time you listen to it, you know, you like this track and this track and this track. The second time you listen to it, another track starts coming through. The third time you listen to it, another track starts coming through. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Instead of, because like some albums you listen to, you like those two tracks. The next time you listen to the album, you like those two tracks. The next time you listen to the album, you like those two tracks, and that's how it goes. Do you know what I mean? Whereas with this album, it's like, you know, you like number 2, and the next time you listen to it, number 5. Oh man, this one's growing on me. Do you know what I mean? Next time you listen to it, you know what I mean? Oh, number 10. Oh, you know what I mean? that to me is the mark of a quality album, and that's what I got with the care package, man.
I appreciate that.
I like to do a thing where, because obviously, you know, the phrase has kind of like become famous in the last few years, give people their flowers while they can still smell them. So I'll start with you, Rocky Styles, man. Who do you want to shout out? You know, who helped you on your way, and who, you know what I mean, once you've been with GAWDS, as, you know what I mean, kind of like, you know what I mean, just, you know, who do you want to shout out, man?
Man, that's a tough one for real. I feel like I would get support from nobody. I don't really care. You know what I mean? I just do me. You know, whatever. But I mean, you know, basically just OGs that came before me that, you know, that were inspiration for me to do what I'm able to do. Okay. You know, whatever. I can't really think of any specific person, like, you know, that I can say.
That's cool, man.
You know, whatever.
That's cool. What about you, Pinpoint?
Yeah, I've got some folks. First thing I want to say is, you know, so we put out an album called Gloria a couple years ago, and that was for combined reasons of my mom passing, literally as we were working on that album, and Regulus's grandmother. They actually share the same name, so everything I do, I always say I'm Gloria's only son, and hashtag hug your mom. We've got t-shirts for that. So my parents' musical influence on me was big. My sister as well, I always appreciate her. She supports me as best as she always can. And then like musically and just like, you know, kind of in our circle, I want to shout out my man Richard Cranium, aka Dickhead, and shout out Neil Fox, who's a really dope visual artist. He's a rapper, he's a producer, he mainly does tattoos. His tattoo work is crazy. And you know, we've had some other people in our circle as of late that I really have appreciated over these last few years. We had this other crew named Radio going for a while. So shout out to the people that were in there, like Brina LaBars and Cardo, JB, all those guys. My guy Monty is always a good vibe and support for what we got going on right now. And there's been some people in the Baltimore scene that have been supportive of what GAWDS is doing. Shout out to Ogun. You know, he's a guy that matters here, and he's been really supportive of some of the stuff that we've been doing as well. Shout out my guy Shaka Pitts. He has a show every week, and we often will submit music on his platform where the listeners get to vote of how they feel about it, and that's always getting good responses when we send something through. And other than that, you know, just like our typical supporters, I wouldn't really be able to name them all by name per se, but you know, and there's been some other artists too that I'm just not thinking of right now that have been, you know, fairly supportive when they talk to me or us about what we've got going on. But I definitely wanted to make sure I got those names in that I said earlier for sure.
Cool. All right, man. So DJ Rocky Styles, you got anything coming up, either with GAWDS or outside of GAWDS, or you just like, you know what I mean, chilling, doing the DJing thing on the scene?
Yeah, so I've been a full-time DJ for probably 15, 20 years or so now. It's been my full-time job for a long time. So I do a little bit of everything. I host it's Woo Wednesdays in Baltimore. We've been doing that 11 years now. So it's just all throwback music, 80s, 90s, early 2000, hip-hop, R&B, dancehall, all night long. And, got a cat on my lap.
That's all right, man. My cat would be on my lap if I wasn't standing up, so.
Yeah, and then I do an all-disco, funk, soul type party on Saturday nights. What was the original question again?
Just you know what I mean, what you got coming up or what you're up to at the minute, man. That's the right answer. So
just my normal weekly gigs that I do. You know, you can find me everywhere. DJ Rocky Styles. I have a bunch of mixes on YouTube as well. And then, like I said, we've been doing some showcase shows. We got another one coming up March 27th with a bunch of local artists. So I'm always the DJ for basically all of the artists unless they bring their own DJ, you know, whatever. So I kind of like curate everybody's sets, and again, just improv, you know, whatever, and just make it dope. Yeah. And then Pin ends up hosting it, and we just kind of lay down instrumentals and, you know, make it funky. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
that sounds dope, man. Yeah. What about you, Pinpoint? You got anything else going on apart from what Rocky Styles just said?
Just a little, but just to piggyback on one of the things he said, that show on March 27th, if anybody wants to come down to Baltimore, it's at a spot called Sidelines Bar and Grill, and it's going to be on the 27th, and that joint starts, I want to say, at 8 o'clock. But other than that, we got another one in April, which probably might be at the same spot. And then we actually shot a music video for the first song on the album, which is also our first single, Oh No. We just shot that a couple nights ago, and we're going to put that out on March 1st. So definitely want everybody to check that out. It'll be on our YouTube page, which is like at GAWDS Music. Pretty sure that's the @ for that. But if you just type in GAWDS Baltimore, YouTube will be like, you mean these guys? And then so we got that coming up. Other than that, we've already got music stockpiled for the next album. I've actually been slowly compiling a list of solo songs for whenever I decide to put out my little personal EP or whatever. But who knows when that's actually going to happen. But it's in the works. Other than that, man, you know, we just been making beats and getting those to people, working on getting features done. If anybody that's tuned in wants to work with us after they see this interview or check out the project, and please check out the project. Hit us up, because we're always down to work with folks, you know. And then maybe that'll be some of the next things we got coming up as well.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, so, you know, like we've been saying, the care package is out from GAWDS, G.A.W.D.S, going at whoever don't surrender. The album is dope. I've said before and I said again, you know what I mean? Big thanks to Black Culture Radio, man. They don't tell me who to interview, who not to interview, man. I get to interview who I like. If I didn't like your album, I wouldn't be speaking to you. Do you know what I mean? I'm speaking to you because the album is dope. Big shout out to Jerry Graham once again. You know what I mean? Sometimes he comes to me with an artist and he's like, check out the album, see if you want to interview him. I check it out. It's not quite what I want. Do you know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that I've got any kind of influence or anything like that, but I am saying that I only speak to people whose music that I love. So, you know what I mean? Thank you for giving up your time. It's very much appreciated. Yeah, man. Pinpoint, the God in the house, and MC Rocky Styles. Thank you very much for your time. Hopefully we will speak again soon. Yeah, I'll see you soon. Thank you, guys.
See you soon, bro. I appreciate you, JJ. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, bro.
Follow me on all social media platforms at JJMusicLover75, and also follow Black Culture Radio on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and TikTok.